All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Ramblestream here. I'm Richard Worsham, founder and designer here at Janus Motorcycles, and happy to welcome you all back to another Ramblestream. This time we are at Ramblestream number 28. It's Monday, the 29th of January, 2024. And it's good to see we've already got some folks here in the comments. We got 17 people with us so far. Last week, I think we set a record for number of viewers live. We had 73 people on. So I hope I can match that. We got a simple program tonight. Just going to be talking about finishing off where we left off last week. We were talking about the engines we use in all of our models. And I talked about the 250 engine and kind of a little bit of its history, why we chose it, and that whole saga and the fact that we still use the 250 engine, and it's still one of my favorite power plants that we use. And this evening, we are going to talk about the 450 engine and a little of the story of how we selected that and the history behind it. So this is kind of an augmentation to our Ramblestreams. I forget which ones they were, but in recent history, we did one on the launch of all the different models, all the way back for the Paragon 50, 250, and 450. So there will be a little bit of duplication in what we cover, but this will be really more focused on the engine itself. So also we'll be covering some updates, what I've been up to, what we've been up to here, and time to hang out and chat a little bit, answer questions, etc. So yeah, I wanted to see who all is here so far in the comments. We have Dan Radimski first on the list. He says, "My bike is built, number 235. Fantastic. Congratulations. It'll be headed your way soon. We got Bob Benstead, Halcyon 450, number 230, Sturgis, South Dakota. Bike is home and safe for tomorrow's ride. Thank you, Janus team." Yes, I got your photographs, Bob. Looks like you're very pleased with yourself. Woody dropped off. I think Bob sent me a picture of him with his bike, and then also one of Woody pulling up in the van. So a lot of excitement in Sturgis, South Dakota. Very pleased to see that. Thank you for sending those pictures, Bob. Hope you enjoy your ride tomorrow. I hope the weather is good for you. It has been a little better out here in northern Indiana. I actually took out a 450 this evening with my daughter. We were testing out the passenger seat, which will be launched very for pre-order momentarily. So we're still waiting on some covers to come in, but we would like to start taking pre-orders on that. So that check your emails. We'll be sending out emails about that. It'll be on our website, and we'll be making some more announcements on that. But the test riding went well. Really what we were finalizing was the things like making sure that the weight capacity, our numbers are all adding up. We have, of course, already done testing on the pillion seat with the 450, but just wanted to confirm that. And the numbers we're coming up with are something in the range of, a total of, what would it come out to? 300, between 315 and 350 pounds total weight, rider and passenger. There is a little bit of wiggle room in there for additional weight, but the trick with a passenger is that it's a compromise, and so you have to make the suspension work for a single rider, and then also function adequately with a passenger. So the weight, you can imagine the change that has to happen, and being able to compensate for that and make it work in both instances is complicated. So I'll talk a little bit more about that, but that was a lot of fun. I got to go out and ride, and we had a good time zooming around, trying to find the bumpiest roads in Goshen to experiment with. So yeah, it was fun. We got next up Sal here. Tim. His handle is Sal. 450 number 113. Burns Harbor. Coffee. Black. Oh yeah, I should say I am sipping on Evan Williams and water. Roger. Junt, 60 degrees and mostly dry roads around the foothills of Sturgis. Great weather for breaking in. Halcyon 250 number 118. Sipping on a cold 7-Up. So we got 2 happy riders in South Dakota. I hope you all get to ride together. Multifarious, good to see you as always. Looking forward to hearing about the Halcyon 450. Chris from Nebraska. N-E. Nebraska, like Charlie. Yes, Charlie is from Nebraska. And we hear all about Nebraska from him. Cornhuskers. Jack Coleman. Hola, Jack Coleman here from Northern Georgia. Halcyon 250 number 1037. Sipping on a hot chai tea. Good to see you, Jack. He says, Gary, you are the man. Quite a lineup you have, sir. Oh, am I missing Gary on here? Oh, maybe those comments came in out of order. Gary Smith, hello from East Lansing, Michigan. Gary, Halcyon 250 number 79, Halcyon 450 number 3, Phoenix 250 number 79, sipping on a Johnny Walker Blue label on the rocks. Cheers. Cheers, Gary. Charles Mahagahagan, hello from Eastern Shore. And Charles has got some nice news for us. I heard about this. Halcyon 250 number 454 and number 63, and now Phoenix number 30, drinking cold coffee. Congratulations on your purchase, Charles. That's fantastic. Charles picked up a vintage Phoenix at auction and has been asking us, who's curious about the VIN number and what history of the bike. So we were able to share a little bit about what the VIN system means and all that with him. So I'm glad we could be of any help there, Charles, and congratulations on your purchase. You have a pretty good lineup too, Gary and you together. Jack says, Charles, you are right there with Gary. Nice collection, fellas. Yes, indeed. Love to see that. Not the least because it means we sell more motorcycles, but because you all are enjoying them. And it's no small compliment to have someone not only buy one, but find them enjoyable and fulfilling enough to buy 2 more. So very, very nice. Let's see. We got lots of comments. Nicholas G. Griffin, number 200, waiting. Southeastern Connecticut. Congrats. We'll get that out to you soon. Really excited for you to get your Griffin. Jack says, I'm still waiting on mine as well, Nicholas. NW Metalbug. Hey, my friend. Halcyon 250, number 164 from Oregon, drinking coffee. Dan says, a Guinness Zero, alcohol-free because why not? Well, there you go. Nicholas says, hey, Jack, I wanted a on the 100 number, so it's going to be a wait until ready. Oh, you want one right on the 100. Hey, to each their own. So it's going to be a wait until ready to build that number. Sometimes the waiting is a good thing. I think so. I mean, if you want something fast, maybe a Janus isn't. Well, definitely a Janus isn't your cup of tea. It's not. It is neither fast nor does it show up immediately. You can't go to your local dealer and pick one up and ride it home. So that is part of the enjoyment. One of the brands that many brands that I've really appreciated are some of those smaller manufacturers that produce more limited quantities in handmade, and it's always a wait to get something like that. And folks like you all know that when you sign up for one and purchase one. So that's part of being able to have such a say in what it looks like, is because it's built for you. It's not just a, what do they say, pret-a-porter, ready-to-wear suit. It's a made-to-order. Ben Ferrer, hello from SF, San Francisco. 450 number 43, ice-cold gin martini, stirred. Very nice, very nice. Sirius, a friend from England here. Hello from the deepest, darkest north of England. Fantastic. What is the great, that's a great, yeah. Good to see you on. I know it's late there. Sipping on H2O and riding a new, to me, R9T. Very nice. Congratulations, BMW. What year is it? Dave Bowen. Hey, Dave. We've just spoken. Good to see you. And my apologies for the confusion with some of the repair work on your bike. But we will get it sorted out for you. I neglected to. That's the problem. This isn't I'm not making excuses, but one of the problems if you contact me directly and you circumvent, which Dave, this is not your fault. We needed to. It needed to go through me, but we have a system, which most of the time works going through service, where we make a service ticket, blah blah blah, and everything gets recorded. But if it goes through me, sometimes details are lost, and I'm working on that as all the time, trying to get better at relaying that. And I thought I had laid that out, not to make excuses, but another of the side effects of a very small operation. So we will get you all taken care of, and it was good to talk to you. And I'm really, really happy that you have gotten your Halcyon 450 back. Excited to see. I still, to this day, Dave, the photograph of your Halcyon with the mountain in the background is one of my favorite shots. The angle of the bike, not to mention the scenery in the background, just looks wonderful. So very excited to get that back to you. Jack says, does the Guinness Zero taste as well as a Guinness? That question was for Dan. Yes, I get that. Carrie says, hi all, 450 number 195 and 250 number 1043 in the oven. Fantastic. Look at all these guys. Y'all have multi-bike owners here. This is just so y'all know, the Ramblestream is where all the dyed-in-the-wool Janusians congregate. We ramble together. So this is turning into a lot of fun. 43 people in the watching right now. Welcome everybody. And if you're lurking, that's fine. But feel free, even if you don't have a Janus, to post up where you're from, what Janus you would like if you were to get one. You don't have to own 4 Januses, 3, 2, or even 1. If you're interested in what we're talking about, what I'm talking about, very pleased to see you here. Kelly Chrisman, Halcyon 450 number 236 in Virginia, drinking an orange crust. Always good to see a fellow Virginian from the Commonwealth in the chat and as a Janus owner. Confed Yank, howdy, chilling in North Carolina, getting prepped for Daytona trip. Just got off brand cola and water here. Lol. Good to see you, Confed Yank, as always. You are, everybody here I see pop up on a regular basis, but Confed Yank is on here every single time, so fantastic. You get the participation award. Riggedy Alps, good to see you. Hello from icy Massachusetts. Halcyon 450 number 234, just certified. Drinking polar seltzer. I like polar seltzer myself. Congrats, just certified. That means it's heading your way soon. Perry Ford, good evening, sir. Sipping a Shinerbach beer and enjoying some barbecue. All the best. Good to see you, Perry. Keith Haywood, set number 706 in New York. Headed to the liquor cabinet now. Good man. Richard Brown, when will you be posting sign up for test rides, shop tours for spring? That is a fantastic question, Richard. We don't really do formal demo days as much anymore these days. What we do is welcome you anytime you'd like to show up. So we will put on what is our business partner, Bruce always says the dog and pony show. We put on the dog and pony show for whoever wants to get a tour and test ride. And so just if you doubly want to make sure that we're ready for you, send us an email or give us a call in advance, and we'll make sure to have a bike ready for you and prepped, and you can know exactly what's in store for you. So give us a call and set up a good time for you. Carrie says, sipping decaf coffee with a shot of Buffalo Trace and a Buffalo Trace bourbon. Nice. So decaf coffee, but it's good for an evening sip. Straw Dog, good to see you. Hello from New Hampshire, Halcyon 769, water today. Great. I'm drinking water with my bourbon. Dan says, Jack, almost like the real thing. Oh, okay. That's good. He's talking about his Guinness. Sirius says, R9T is a 2018. Doesn't really fit in with the light is right approach. but it's proper vibratory of oil smelling analog kind of machine. I dig it. Yeah, they had some. There have been so many custom versions of that put out. The one I really like was the Racer, I think. It looked like it's like a very cafe. It has a quarter fairing, BMW white, blue, and red. Pretty cool. And it still preserves that the boxer heritage of the BMW. Great machine. Confed Yank, Phoenix 450 with 6-speed is one I want. Yeah, I know. Me too. Top Banana 48, lurking while working. Top Banana, that's Brent down at TT. He's our fender bender. So he's making fenders for y'all right now. And he has Phoenix number 34, which he, was it last year, Brent? I can't remember. Had it re-powder coated and pinstriped in a very cool, unique to him color scheme. Confed Yank says, is participation award worth a test ride? Yeah, let's make it happen. Keith Haywood, Angel's Envy. Very nice. Good taste in bourbon there. Lo-Fi by Nature. Excited to hear about the new Origin lineup, and we'll hopefully soon have a Halcyon 450 Origin. Fantastic. Yeah. I don't know if you've been on the Ramblestream before, but we did I talked about it a couple of Ramblestreams ago, and we have a nice video I did introducing it. So let me know if you have any questions. Happy to answer them. Jim Bledsoe, good to see you. Youngstown, Ohio here with a full garage, 450 number 163, Victory Vegas, and a really customized bobbed out Honda Rebel. Nice. Good collection. I'm not familiar with the Vegas Victory. I know Victories, and I've heard only good things about them and the sad story of their being discontinued. But tell me more about the Vegas, or I'll look it up here. David Hyde, sipping Cabernet Sauvignon while waiting for the weather to break so I can jump on to number 387 for an early spring ride. Love the Ramblestream. Well, thank you, and I wish you fair weather. All right. Well, we've gotten through some comments. Before another one pops in here, we will read a poem, and I cannot remember who it was that requested Yeats, but we're going to do it, and we're going to do a good one. We're going to do an old favorite. I bet you if you know anything about poetry, you'll know this poem because it's very, very famous and dear to my heart for many reasons. We'll go ahead and get started. Sailing to Byzantium by William Butler Yeats. That is no country for old men, the young in one another's arms, birds in the trees, those dying generations at their song, the salmon falls, the mackerel-crowded seas, fish, flesh, or fowl, commend all summer long whatever is begotten, born, and dies. Caught in that sensual music, all neglect monuments of unaging intellect. An aged man is but a paltry thing, a tattered coat upon a stick, unless soul clap its hands and sing, and louder sing for every tatter in its mortal dress. Nor is there singing school, but studying monuments of its own magnificence. And therefore I have sailed the seas, and come to the holy city of Byzantium. O sages standing in God's holy fire, as in the gold mosaic of a wall, come from the holy fire, purn in a gyre, and be the singing masters of my soul. Consume my heart away, sick with desire, and fastened to a dying animal, it knows not what it is, and gather me into the artifice of eternity. Once out of nature, I shall never take my bodily form from any natural thing, but such a form as Grecian goldsmiths make of hammered gold and gold enameling to keep a drowsy emperor awake, or set upon a golden bough to sing to lords and ladies of Byzantium of what is past or passing or to come. That's a good one. That's a good one for Janus. All right. Well, let's see. We got two more comments. Jim says, oh, he's talking about his Victory Vegas. Let's take a peek at one. I want to see what this looks like. I'm imagining something very, very American. Oh, there we go. Let's take a look at this thing. All right. Of course, now I get into some kind of image that I can't see. Open image. In new tab. There we go. Let's take a big peek. There we go. Yes. Pretty classic. Pretty classic. Was that available in multiple colors? I'm sadly ignorant of my Victory motorcycles, but it's a big American V-twin belt drive. It looks like pretty neat. Pretty neat. Sal, who is actually Tim, I think. Tim is Motocult tied to Janus. I love the Motocult taillight. AZ Geek had in his video. Yes, well, no, Motocult is not tied to Janus, but it has a heritage with Janus. Motocult is the brainchild of Devin, who's my co-founder of Janus Motorcycles. So Devin started up Motocult a couple of years ago, I want to say, and it's a pretty fascinating thing for some, I mean, to have an aftermarket parts someone who's concentrating on aftermarket parts for such a small brand as Janus is, I think, quite a boon for y'all, you owners, because otherwise it would be quite a while probably until anyone would find it the return on investment to be worth it. But Devin obviously has a passion for the 250 motor in general and has a lot of upgrades and options available for it. And most of them things that Janus cannot supply, in particular engine performance upgrades, non-DOT taillights, etc. Those are things that, although they're beautiful, they don't meet modern certification standards or homologation regulations. So aftermarket, it's fine, and you all are free to be able to add those to your motorcycles, but as a manufacturer, we can't. So that is the connection. He's here in Goshen. I believe most of the bikes are made very, very, very low nearby, or most of the parts are made locally. So, yeah, that's the story. Dan says, was Byzantium now Constantinople? Yes, and now it's Istanbul, to quote the song. Robert Bosco, hi Rich. Spoke with Mitch today about possibly picking up a Halcyon 250. What is the most convenient airport to fly into your area? Great question. The best airport, in my opinion, would be South Bend. South Bend is about 45 minutes from the airport to Goshen. And let us know if we can help pick you up or make that process easier for you. We're happy to do that. So we would love to give you a tour of Goshen, Janus, the fabrication shop, give you test rides, etc. So right now is a great time to visit. The weather is relatively decent. It's cold, but you can ride on the road as I did today, and no ice right now, even though it was sort of snowing yesterday and this morning, but all good. It's a little bit tricky this time of year, but maybe you're planning on later in the spring. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about the upgrades that we're advancing rapidly right now. I mentioned the pillion seat, and I know many of you all are waiting anxiously on the passenger option for the 450. It's been a long journey. We've had some interesting, how shall I say this without getting myself in trouble, interesting side projects going on lately. So we've had to redirect some attention, but they are wrapping up, and you will hear about them soon. But we are back to full swing on the upgrades and options. So there are quite a few. I'm going to forget many of them, and I didn't do all my homework ahead of time for this, so I don't have a list in front of me. But I can, off the top of my head, tell you first about the pillion seat. Basically, where we stand with that is not a whole lot different than we have been. We're waiting on the seat cover manufacturer, which is a company called Eric Scott. They're based in St. Louis, and they make all the seat covers for the 450. As you all know, the seat covers, saddlebags, and battery covers for the 250 line are all made by a local guy, Mark, Amish fellow, who has been making our saddlebags all the way back to the Halcyon 50. However, when we went for the 450, it's an upholstered seat. It's a very complex shape. It's much more comfortable than the 250 seat, and it requires a different kind of upholstery sewing than he's really prepared to do. And so we went out of our neck of the woods, so to speak, to Eric Scott, and they make the seat for us. And when we wanted the pillion seat on the 450 to not only be as comfortable, well, not as comfortable as the Solo seat, but in the same ballpark. So we have Sargent, who makes the 450 seat. It's a top of the line. It is the place to go for an aftermarket seat, or in case of Janus, the stock seat. And so we went with them for the foam. It's a long process. It's quite a while to develop. We had to go through different densities of foam, and I won't bore you with all the details, but it was a long process. And now we are finally, since we have the foam that we want in, we have the seat covers in. We actually got the seat covers in the first batch, and now we are making some updates to that. Basically, it's the pattern of the rivets that attach the leather to the seat pan, because we get the covers in plastic bags, and then we install them on the seat with the foam ourselves here. But when you use a rivet, we rivet them on. And so that same process happens with the pillion seat, and we needed to update where the rivets were because they weren't in the right spot for us to make it look good and last a long time. So that's what we've been working on. However, we are going to start taking pre-orders on them because we would like to get them out sooner than later. And it helps us if we can take a big batch of pre-orders. We know they're already sold. We can order more that way and not run out. So it just helps us. So this is going to be a way for us to expedite this and start and get these in. To the best of my understanding, once we place the production order, it's about 8 to 12 weeks until the order comes in. So there will be some lead time if you do get in on the pre-order, but you will be the first to get one. And I understand through the grapevine that may be able to be worked with in terms of how quickly we can get that in from them. So it's this prototyping stuff. It does take time, and I've been talking quite a lot about how we're trying to make it faster, but it's when it goes outside of our control to external vendors, we have to give them time to process the order, and so that's been a holdup. I mean, for example, one of the reasons that it's been taking a while to get back to Eric Scott with the update is that we were going to make a new seat pan prototype with the rivet holes in the correct location. Well, our laser cut shop that supplies us with all the laser cut parts got the order wrong. And so I think they must have ordered it off the wrong revision. And we got it in, and we're all excited, and then we realized, oh, this is the wrong one, so we have to wait another however long. We have to wait until they cut another one. So that's just an example for you all to show how we're not just twiddling our thumbs here. That's why it can take longer. So that is the update. Stay tuned here for the pre-order launch on that seat. Let's see real quick. We'll go over here to some questions. Jim says, I'm 70, 8 bikes so far in life, 3 Hondas, 2 Victories, 2 Janus, and a Harley Shovelhead. Well, I'd say that's a life. You could do worse than have that many motorcycles, and that's great that you still are riding. Fantastic, good on you. Carrie says, I was wondering if the 450 seat would be adaptable to the 250. That is a great question. Are you talking about the solo seat, like the rider seat, or the pillion? I'm going to go ahead and answer that before you respond. I'll cover both questions. So the Halcyon 450 seat does not fit onto the 250. However, a rider seat. Okay, yep, that's what I thought you were asking. However, we are working on an upgrade that will allow the 450 seat to bolt on to your 250. And so that is in the works. It's not going to take long. It's really just a matter of waiting on our laser cut shop to put the rivet holes in the right spot. So I've been working busily on that one, and we will be taking pre-orders. So also keep an eye on that. Now, to answer what I thought you might also have been asking is, does the 450 passenger seat fit on the 250 rack? And the answer is no, it does not. I mean, you could make it fit, but it takes a different bolt pattern. It's actually it's around the same width. I'm trying to remember. Is it? It's around the same width, but it has a completely different bolt pattern. So really, you should get the passenger seat for your bike, designed for your model. And that's probably not something we're going to change out because we have both options. We will continue to make and the way that the upholstery looks is matched to the way the other seats look. So you weren't asking that question, but I answered it. Rev says, hi from New Mexico, number 137-450. I have installed floorboards in the place of the foot pegs. Helps my seating position. That's fantastic. And as some of you all, I think I've already announced, we are working on floorboard upgrades for the 450. It will initially only be available on the 450, but it'd be cool if it came out on the 250. They're a little big for the 250. The 250 might need some smaller floorboards. These are fully isolated. They have springs underneath them so your feet, and there's no vibration. And the I think I've already covered this, but here, let's go back to the main screen here. If I can make my mouse work. Here we go. The initial version I made had it basically bolted directly to where your foot pegs are now. You wouldn't even need a new foot peg. You just take off the tubular part and bolt on this. Unfortunately, as some of you all predicted, no matter how tight I bolted it on, if you put your toes down on the front, it would twist down. And that's unacceptable for floorboards. So I've redesigned the floorboard with a welded connection. So basically what that means is instead of using your stock foot peg, we will have a machined foot peg that is welded to this. And then it cannot pivot. And so it will lack adjustability, but it will be much more secure. And it will still mount to the stock foot peg bracket on your bike. So it won't require a lot more work on the part of the customer. And that's going to be a little bit because we're waiting on the machine parts, and machine parts take even longer than laser cutting. So there you go. That's one of the reasons it takes so long. But our goal with all these upgrades is to keep them rolling. So there will always be something coming out, and we'll always be starting on a new upgrade. And really, this Ramblestream, my dream is for this to be a place where you all can pitch those ideas and sell them to me. Now, that doesn't mean that you can talk to Mitch or Danielle or Hannah up front, call or send us an email, and those messages do get to me. Mitch is very good about relaying when someone really wants something. And believe me, I hear them all. Canada, a lot of people want bikes in Canada. We are working on it. Actually, there was a phone call today with Transport Canada we had. I was not able to make that call, but Grant was on that call. And we are working on that carefully to be able to get into Canada. Got some more comments here. Carrie says, great. Order that 450 rider seat for 250 number 1043. So there we already have a sale on that. So stay tuned. We will have that listed. Not only does it take making the part where we have to get it to work on our website. It has to be listed. There's part numbers that have to be figured out on the purchasing end. And then ideally, although we may not wait for that, we will have them renderings of them on the configurator, so folks that want to buy one can see what it looks like. But we'll take pictures and send in an email probably to you all. Our emails, I don't know if you've noticed, they've kind of changed a little bit. We're focusing on one product at a time in our emails, and we're launching a lot of stuff. So they're not just spam. Take a look at them. You don't have to buy it, but we are trying to come out with a lot of new products in answer to y'all's requests. Racing the Sun, the Felix brothers, joining late. Sorry, no need to apologize. Does the pillion seat on the 450 require different shocks? Aha. Okay, so you're reminding me of what I was talking about earlier in my test ride today. So he says, does the pillion seat on the 450 require different shocks or just a different preload? Also, rough price on that passenger seat. Yes, so rough price. Let me see what we wrote down here. We were just on our internal threads here discussing this. Give me a minute here, and I will. And as with everything that comes out of my mouth on these ramble streams, it's a rough guideline. Do not hold anyone accountable for what I say. You're getting insight, but the details sometimes escape me, and sometimes we change things. So what happens on this ramble stream is that how do I say this? Sometimes I'll let the cat out of the bag a little early, and the upside to that is that we learn about it and we get to share it and talk about it, and you all are the first to know. The downside is that sometimes all the details aren't worked out. So let me see here. There we go. 450 pillion seat. Y'all want to see? Here, let's take a peek at the. This is our internal communication here. So we create a card in our prototype and design gallery, whatever you want to call it, and then we, this is the initial design of the pans, and then everyone who's involved has input, lots of thumbs up, and then we can ask about all. And look, this is the amount of communication starting with just later in the process, really, in December, and we are now down here, but we didn't put the price in this part. I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to answer that question, and I'm not gonna put it on the screen because I don't know. Let's see. I don't have a rough idea, but a couple hundred, because it's going to come with. So it's a foam leather cover, and then it's going to come with passenger pegs. So it's a package that goes into it. I wish I had better info on that, because I know we talked about some rough pricing. Oh, there it is. Nope. Darn it. Well, I shouldn't be doing this on the live here. So I can't speak to the exact price. We'll be sharing it momentarily. I should have been able to find that, but yeah, that's the best I can give you right now. But let's dig into your question, Felix Brothers, whichever one that one of those you happen to be. It's a challenge. So basically what his question was is, does the pillion seat on the 450 require a different shock absorber or just a different preload? So this is exactly what I was talking about earlier when I took my daughter out on a ride because she's about the right weight with me. We were trying to figure out what the max weight we would recommend without modifying your suspension. So What we have right now is the 450 has adjustable preload rear suspension. Now, all Janus bikes with a suspension have adjustable preload. Your front shocks have a very simple, old-fashioned, it's 3 detents, essentially. Click, click, click. And the lowest is where I ride. Pretty much the only time I don't would be like if it had a sidecar on the bike. But then on the back of the 450, instead of detents, we have a threaded collar, a locking collar. And it has about, I think it's like a little over an inch of preload adjustment, which is considerable given it's on 2 of the shock absorbers. And what we decided was that the original design was to have a passenger. And so the ideal goal is for you to be able to ride with it just off of the lowest preload setting with a solo rider, and then crank it up for the passenger. And I do recommend you do that. It's a little bit of a pain in the neck. It's not as easy as some other bikes where you can just get a wrench in there and like some of them have a clicker that you can just rotate. It's kind of like my KLR, which has a collar too, and you have to go in there and find your way in and adjust it. But basically, if you don't, the problem is a single rider on a bike. The bike's designed for that single rider because most of the time, at least on a Janus, we are expecting you to be riding it solo. However, if we offer a passenger seat, we need to be able to allow for the weight of a passenger. The problem is that the weight of a passenger is not like incremental. It's a pretty significant, at least 100 pounds more if you have a very light passenger, even if you have a very light passenger. So the bike has to have this very, very wide tolerance for weight on the bike, rider weight. And I think we've managed it. I took out my daughter today, and between the 2 of us, I figured we had a fairly average rider weight. What we're estimating is around 200 pounds for the average rider. That doesn't mean that you can't be heavier or lighter, but we have to kind of make it average. We have to figure out the rough middle of where you all are going to be riding and target that. If we tried to make it fit every single scenario, it would be impossible, and we would end up with 3 different shock absorbers that you'd have to buy, or you'd have to pay extra for it. So we rode, put the pillion seat prototype on, and hit the bumpiest roads in Goshen, which are hitting some train tracks. And now after the snow, there's plenty of potholes and salt. And so we did that, and then we hit actually the street that Grant lives on. It's a brick road, and it's like all over the place. And I won't say we didn't bottom out, but you'd bottom out in anything you rode down that street on. So I was pretty impressed with the combined weight of the 2 of us on there. I think it's what we're kind of debating now is 200-pound rider, 150-pound passenger, or would it be more like a little less than that, just to be on the safe side? I can say that we actually rode, when we did that this evening, I did not crank up the preload. So that's a really good sign that this thing is going to be pretty average, a good fit for everyone. Now, we do have some different shock absorbers with a heavier preload that we should be getting in later this month. So if you feel that you need more preload, let us know, and we can help work through that. Give you a deal, but that will be something you'll need to purchase heavier shocks. But so far, it's a very good compromise between a single rider of average build and riding 2 up. And I have to tell you right now, these bikes are not designed. This is not our primary goal with the Halcyon 450 is not riding 2 up. It's a small bike. So we like to allow for that, but it's not going to be, it's an old-fashioned pillion. It's not a full-on, it doesn't have armrests. So I'm very pleased with it. I think you will be too. Okay, I'm just rambling away, and I haven't even talked about the 450 engine. So I'm going to do that before we do much more, and that way we can at least cover that. So the 450 engine, it started off, we had the 250, and we knew, from talking to customers, just like we're doing now, we realized that the 250 does what it does very well, but some customers would like to be able to get on the interstate. And while you can, like me, ride across country on Interstate 80 on a 250, it's not what a Janus is designed for. I mean, first of all, no Janus will ever be designed to be primarily an interstate bike. They're designed for small, twisty roads. But some of us live in areas where you got to hop on the interstate, and having a bike that's able to brake. I think our original goal was 80 miles an hour. I was like, I want a bike that can do 80. And then we thought, well, let's have some leeway in there. You need to go a little faster. So 90 miles an hour is the top speed on the 450, and it perfectly fits the bill. Lightweight still. We were looking for another. If I could have gotten another engine like the 250 that just had 30 horsepower, I would have done it. But I think I did, and that is the 450 power plant. It is like the 250 based on a Honda design. The 250 is based on the CG 125 that was then cloned, as they say, up to a 250 nominally. It's actually 229cc, puts out roughly 14 horsepower. And we knew, okay, we want to go about 80 miles an hour. We want about 30 horsepower. And I was shooting for, I think, 350 weight. We only went over that a little bit. So pretty well fit the bill. And also, just like the 250 engine, we knew that we needed an engine that was reliable, because we do not have a dealer network, at least yet. We do not have a service network like other big brands do. We do have a network of shops that we work with, but it's not as universal as some other brands. And so we needed a motorcycle that would be serviceable by the owner if they chose to do so, without a slew of specialty tools, that was relatively simple. And my preference, single cylinder, but I did think, okay, well, maybe it's time to ditch the overhead valve and go with something a little more advanced. And so we found a motor. It's oil cooled. So that was the other. I will say the other caveat was it needed to have the look of an air cooled engine. I think that because we really prize exposing the parts and elements, dropping, at least with where our design is right now, a big water cooled engine in there without any fins, I wasn't ready to do that. And so air cooled with the addition of oil cooling. So the original engine, let's just dig into it, was the Honda XR 400. And so the XR line has a wonderful heritage going back to the early 80s, if I remember correctly. And actually the XR 350, I believe it was the 350. I can't remember if it was the 350 or the 400, raced at Dakar. And it was really, though, not a dirt bike. It was primarily designed to be a enduro trail bike. And it uses Honda's, at the time it came out, groundbreaking technology, the radial 4-valve combustion chamber, which is Honda's way of saying a Hemi. So what I mean by that is, typically your either 2 or 4-valve engines are what they call a pent roof design, and most engines today kind of have gone back to that, where the intake is in this plane and the exhaust is in this plane. And if you have 2 valves, the intake are both in one plane, the exhaust is both in one plane. What a hemispherical combustion chamber gives you is no 2 valves are in the same plane. So they're positioned like this. So let's say this is the intake side and this is the exhaust side. The two intakes on this side are kind of coming together. It's like they're radiating from a central point, which is the top of the piston. And the same thing with the exhaust. So it takes a little bit more complex of a valve train to make that happen, little finger followers and interesting devices like that. But today it's not really cutting edge anymore. A Hemi, even I don't think that Hemis are Hemis anymore. They're pent roof. I could be wrong on that, but I learned a lot about engines in the research for it. But started off as a trail bike and actually is still in production. The XR 650 is, as of this recording, is still in production. Honda, great engine. They're super reliable, very easy to maintain, and the 400 was air cooled completely. So obviously ours has also got oil cooling, but the history of that is that, again, when that engine got old and Honda stopped production and stopped putting effort into it, some of their early suppliers for parts had been making versions of that. And we actually get this one from a major Chinese, well, go through the story. So I was looking for this engine and I found this company in England called Clues Competition Motors. Yeah, CCM. And if you haven't looked into CCM, they're really, really neat motorcycles. They are still in production, as far as I know, out of Clues, England. And they make a variety of different motorcycles. They made a enduro dual sport motorcycle for a while at around a 450 power plant. Regardless, they have partnered with the Italian brand SWM, which is a story in its own right. SWM was founded in 2004, refounded in 2014 by an ex-engineer for Husqvarna and Aprilia in an old BMW plant in northern Italy, with investment from the Chinese manufacturer Shinrei, or Xinyurei, as they say. And so SWM is a wonderful story in its own right. I will post up, I have a 2-part blog series on the, I'll pull it up here, you can see, on the history of the whole story of the engine. And I go into great detail with SWM, the story. Unfortunately, it's a great story of a small brand in Italy that launched a motorcycle business. They lasted 15 or so years, I think, before they went into business. And they imported their engines. They used Sox and Rotax motors for their trials bikes, primarily, that they built. But in 2014, Ampelio Macchi, the engineer, purchased the rights to the brand and refounded it in Biondrono in Italy. It's about 45 minutes northeast of Milan. And I was able to visit, I think it was 2019, went over and visited SWM, got a factory tour, got to see their modeling, clay model studio, and meet their team, test ride a motorcycle with the 450 power plant, and was very impressed with their design. So we ended up working with through an agreement with them where we purchased their engines. We then took them through EPA testing and have had a great story with them. It's been a pleasure working with them, and although we have to ship engines all the way around the world, literally from China to Italy to us, so there's quite a bit of cost involved, but these are engines that are very high quality. This is the Italian design and assembly in some cases. Very, very, very good engines. What else will I say about the 450? What SWM did to the 450, or it was a 400 I mentioned. They added the oil cooling, and they did some re-engineering of and they bumped it up to 245 cc. So that's actually it's a nominally a 450. The actual displacement is 445 cc's. It is a 5-speed, of course, manual transmission, overhead cam. And I forgot to mention one of the things that when we were selecting engines, one of the things that I won't even say reluctantly, I was excited to move to fuel injection. I know that there are a lot of you all here, Ramblers are diehard carbureted fans. However, probably the number one service issue that we have at Janus is folks who are unfamiliar with starting a carbureted engine that requires a choke You also have the issue of fuel going bad and clogging the mechanical, analog system that is a carburetor, especially with modern ethanol-free or ethanol fuel. It breaks down significantly faster than old-fashioned pure ethanol-free gas and can cause problems. So that's not to say that the 250 isn't fantastic. I ride one, as you all know. As long as you ride it on a regular basis, no worries. And if you put it away, treat the gas, all that good stuff, drain the carburetor. However, modern riders, modern drivers are not used to that. They're used to fuel injection, and it just has it's a lot lower involvement in terms of all those issues. It has an auto enrichment. It's run by an ECU, so it's a onboard computer controls the fuel air mixture. It automatically enriches the fuel when you're starting up, and pretty sophisticated system, and it makes getting through EPA significantly easier. So that was a big part of our decision to go with fuel injection. And it's nice to be able to offer one of each. Some people are like, "We don't have a fuel injected bike." Well, yeah, we do. You get the 450. You don't have a carburetor? What are you talking about? Well, yeah, we do. You get the 250. So I like having both options. And we've been in production for 2 or 3 years now. I can't even remember how long we've been in production with the 450. We are very excited about it. We are building them all the time. I've actually been very busy in the last 2 weeks down at our fabrication shop working on increasing our production. So that is the very brief story of the 450 power plant, the Janus 450 engine. And if you would like to learn more, please check out my blog series on it. I will post links to both parts of that in the description of this video. Like I did last week, if you go back and look, there's a description of the 250, or the links to the blog. So let's get on here with the comments. And man, that has been the fastest hour I have spent on here. So let's see, we got... NW Metalbug says, "Lol, figures, I just installed a wide line on my 250. That's what I ride with, is the wide line. I'm not going to switch over. Dan says, "I had a Sargent on my Ducati. It was amazing." Yeah, I have a Sargent on my KLR, and it's great. It's way better than the stock KLR seat, I'll tell you that. NW Metalbug says, "Probably easier to remove shocks to adjust them. Just a guess." Actually, the best thing is to... flip your seat up and adjust them. You can flip the seat forward and adjust them that way. And if you have a passenger seat, you should probably not have springs on it anyway. So we will come out with a full instruction video on installation, but I'm just kind of off the top of my head. Confed says, "Rambling on the Ramblestream? Astonishing. Outstanding. Impressive even." Nice. Thank you. Confed says, "Reliable and one cylinder. Thumper." Yep. That's my cup of tea right there. Smokey Mike says, "I've been riding my Ural for years, and you don't need to hit the interstate. They are for touring and seeing what's around you, like the Janus." Yeah, amen. Dan says, "Chryslers are Hemi in name only." That's right. Yes. Yeah, they are no longer a hemispherical engine. My Citroën 2 chevaux is a real hemispherical combustion chamber. Nice. That's cool. And it's very nice that you have a 2CV, 2-horse. Very cool. That's neat. Sirius says, "The chap that designed for CCM now has his own low-volume bike." No kidding. Langen is from CCM. Okay, so Langen is another brand that I'm really interested in. I have been watching their two-stroke. Langen has somehow managed to make a 250cc two-stroke that puts out like close to 70 horsepower and that meets emission standards. I don't know how they do it. They're working with a company in Italy called Vins, which is, I think, like some kind of a big Italian engine engineering operation. Maybe you know more serious on that than I do. But I've actually exchanged some communication with I think the founder of Vins, and he'd love to get us a 250. I don't know. We that would be a big shift. But it's a beautiful, beautiful machine. To be quite honest, I am not as much a fan of their new bike. It's not quite as much my cup of tea as the two-stroke 250. Tim says 450 is actually really quick for any road situation. Don't know why people would ever complain. Perfectly choice for this frame and suspension setup. Yeah, I agree. It's quite quick. It's no rocket, but if you want one of those, get a Triumph Rocket or a Ducati or some other quick bike. Dave says, is there a fuel filter on the 450 that would need periodic maintenance? There is a fuel filter. It is not a high maintenance item. It is actually going to be, I had one on my desk until recently, but it's actually part of the fuel pump. And so it's a bit more of a issue to get to. It's actually not that hard. You remove your tank. So there's 2 bolts at the back. You remove those, remove the fuel line, and then the tank will just fold forward, unlike the 250, and pop off the front. So it's relatively quick. That was one of the big design features we wanted on the 450 was the tank to come off more like a standard tank. You still have to disconnect obviously the hoses. And then there's 4 bolts that come out, a big gasket that goes around and then the fuel pump comes at the bottom of the fuel tank, and there's a little bag filter on it. I do not believe that that's something that you're going to need to worry about a whole lot. It's not something that we stipulate as a regular maintenance item, so I wouldn't be super concerned about that. It's very well filtered. Sirius says, I came super close to getting the SWM Grand Milano. Nice cafe style bike. Well, if you had gotten the Grand Milano, it would have the same engine as the 450. That is the engine that we use. That's what they call it, their 445 Scrambler. They keep changing the name on it, but the 6 Days, the Grand Milano, the Silver Vase is the other one they make. Very Italian name, Silver Cup. I think that's what they meant. Yes, the Silver Vase or the Grand Milano are cool bikes, and they use, basically, it's the 450 engine. So if you ever want to know more about the 450 engine or get on forums that talk about the 450 engine, get on and see, because they sell them in Australia, which English-speaking England, obviously English-speaking, and you can get on the forums and learn more about them. Woody, who many of y'all know, our delivery and service guy, is an avid researcher and has done a lot of poking on the forums. If we're worried about something or we're questioning something about the engine, we often will do searches in Australia or England where the SWM has produced many more units than we have and see what the feedback is from customers. And so far, we really haven't seen any consistent issues. I mean, some folks have put thousands and thousands of miles on those engines, and they're literally the same motor. So, yeah. Ron says, ever considered a kickstart option on the 450? You're not the first to mention that, even in the last week. I have considered it. It has a boss on the casting where it would go, but there is no immediate desire for a Kickstarter on the part of SWM, and I'm sort of subject to their whims when it comes to that. Jimbo, checking in late. When will the 450 service stand be available? We're working on it. I do not have, it's a little bit, my goal is to have it available for you all to do service on your 450 this spring. We have a new design in the works that's even better. We've really been struggling with this one, trying to figure out one that will work with the way the exhaust system is. Check some of my old Ramblestreams where I've talked about that in more detail. But we have a new, actually Chase, our technician of all, I call him a production engineer, but he does everything in terms of figuring out issues, has got a new design himself. We've recently got him hooked up with our CAD system, and boy, has he gone to town on it. And I'm very impressed with the designs that he's come up with. So hope to have that out very soon. All right, last comment. Oh, no, we got more. Sorry. No, that's it. Okay. Sirius says, Chris Radcliffe designed the Spitfire for CC. The Spitfire is a very nice bike. I really like the way the Spitfire looks. Any of y'all here, let's look it up real quick. I know we're over time, but CCM Spitfire. Y'all should check these bikes out. They're really neat. Not found. Uh-oh. Maybe they don't make the Spitfire anymore. No, they do. I think this is the Spitfire, isn't it? Here's the really vintagey one. Royal Air Force one. Pretty high-tech stuff. It's very retro, but they are using a pretty sophisticated system. And the engine that they use in this is an SWM, liquid cooled. What is it? A 650, 600? I can't remember. Very nice bikes. Very, very cool. And really, it was 600 cc. It's what turned me on to it. That's where I actually learned about SWM, the company, today. Anyway, he then sold everything to start Langen. That's so cool. I met him when I worked in a bike shop. He was buying a scrappy MT-07 to turn into an electric bike. Super nice guy. Awesome. Good to hear. Mark Herschel says, late to join. Received my 450 number 232 last week. Love it. Jackson, California. Well, congratulations, Mark. I wish you many miles of enjoyable rambling. Congrats. And Sirius says, if you look at the frame and compare it to the Langen, you can see the similarities. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And we're going to just keep going here. Langen 250. Here. If y'all haven't seen these before, they're really neat. Really neat. The 2-stroke. We don't want that light speed nonsense. There we go. Look at that thing. Pretty neat. Oh yeah, and that you can definitely recognize that chassis design from the Spitfire. Yeah, look at that. Huh. No kidding. Well, that's really neat to see that he's gone on to make another company. It really seems to be doing well. Very excited to see that. All right. Well, we are over time. It's been great to hang out with all of you all. I'm going to get back and get some rest. But a little bit better riding weather here in northern Indiana. I wish you all good weather and good rambling. Looking forward to spring, and thanks a lot. So I will catch you all next week for Ramblestream number 29. Till then, farewell.